Hey there everybody, Matt Carter here.
And Jessica Carter.
This video is our latest. This is a Season 5 theory discussion, and here we're going to put the focus on Sophie. And we have a lot of thoughts as to how she could be factored into the story moving forward, because if you saw our notable quotes from Dan FOGELMAN video that we did recently, we have that in the description if you want to check that out. One of the things that he had noted was that both Sophie and Cassidy will continue to be a part of the show somehow, though they may not necessarily be romantically intertwined with Kevin. They still could be, but that's not a guarantee.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a bit about that and how we think Sophie's going to continue to be part of this story.
Before we dive in though, if you guys do like this video, remember to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any other updates we've got coming. But let's begin, though, with talking about it from the most obvious point of view, which is the romantic point of view, that Sophie and Kevin, clearly they still have some sort of feelings for each other. How could she sort of find her way back to him, and how could he find his way back to her?
Yeah, we're sort of in this spot right now where Kevin has learned he's going to be a dad, Madison's the mom, and we know that the last time we really saw Sophie, she was still thinking about Kevin, but she is engaged to somebody else. So they're in a situation where romantically it's not where they are on the timetable at present. That doesn't mean anything for the future. There's lots of time for things to change and things to move and see what happens. So my theory has been, and still continues to be, that when we see Kevin in the future, which is when he's at Rebecca's deathbed, that he's actually going to be married to her then. That's what I want. What I'm worried about, though, is that because This Is Us is a show that's very based in sort of more of reality and not really necessarily about a happy ending. It's sort of almost like It's a Wonderful Life, where you didn't necessarily get exactly what you wanted, but the life that you ended up getting is a wonderful life, and you're happy with what has happened. So we've seen a great love story with Rebecca and Jack, and that's whole thing, but it ended in tragedy. I mean, he died, and then we ended up not seeing, but it's happening, the relationship with Miguel. Yeah. And there is a love there, and there is a happiness there, and she said it this season. I am happy where I am. I'm happy in this relationship. So is this going to be a situation then, because This Is Us is that kind of show, that his great love really will be his kids, and that the relationship with Madison will last?
I think there is a chance that we could see a situation where Kevin and Sophie do end up back with each other. But you could also say Kevin and Madison, they do make a relationship work. They stay together sometimes. What you want or what you actually need is the thing that's kind of been right in front of you and you didn't recognize it for a long time. I could still argue that Kevin and Sophie being together 10 years into the future, Kevin's got kids with another woman. It's sort of a blended family. Maybe that is sort of a manifestation of this idea in its own right. But I think in order for that to even happen, because Sophie is engaged, and that's a part of the story we haven't really talked that much about. We don't really know that much about their relationship, what's going on there, and what she really, really feels about Kevin right now.
Yeah, because when they ended up watching the end of Good Will Hunting together, it could be interpreted in two different ways. That is sort of the end of their romantic relationship, and now they're moving forward in a different place in their lives where they're still there to support each other and be there for each other, but that romantic link is now in the past. They have something new happening. She's going to continue to move in and get married to the person she's with. He will get married to someone else. There's also the idea, though, that was just the closing of the chapter of their relationship that wasn't working. And that now they're able to move into the future where it could be working. That there needs to be that growth in Kevin for Sophie to really be like, okay, I'm willing to give this a chance. But yeah, we don't know what her relationship is with her fiance. This could be a great love of her life as well. And I'm not just saying the great love of her life, but a great love of her life.
The thing to me is, I would have thought that the story could have ended with Good Will Hunting, but then they put that little bitty snippet of the billboard in the finale, and she looked at it very wistfully, and yeah, she had a laugh about it in the end because it was a ridiculous billboard, but still, I think there's obviously still a reaction that she has that makes her feel and think about Kevin.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, her looking at the billboard wasn't necessarily romantic. I think it was more of a... just she knows him so well, and they have gone through it together. So to see him like that on the billboard would just give her that smile and that chuckle to be like, man, I know the real guy behind this. This is so ridiculous.
Is it possible that Sophie moves forward as a part of the story, but rather than a love interest, she actually just becomes sort of a close friend to Kevin in a way where he's finally got a relationship that he seems to be ready to at least move forward and try with, and she has her own relationship? Do the two of them ever kind of just establish peace, or is this going to be a situation where, because they've had this love, it's hard for them to really redefine themselves in any other way?
Well, I think even because they've had this great passionate love, I mean, it means to me, if you really love somebody, that you want them to be happy no matter who they're with. And I mean, I could see that being a thing where they decide, you know, that Good Will Hunting thing was the end for them and that they are moving into a different time period with each other. I really like the idea of him being married to her in the future and the idea of them having this blended family, because that's not really something that they've touched that much on in this show. We do have what happened with Rebecca. She's a widow, she's not divorced, but Miguel is divorced. And so there's been a little bit of that with the sort of blended family, but we haven't actually seen really any of that. This might be an opportunity to then show us that aspect, because we've seen all these different sort of branches and, you know, facets of this family, but sort of divorced people coming together, blended family, kids, stepmom, stepdads, all that kind of idea hasn't really happened.
There's another sort of way I could see Sophie being sort of factored into the story, and this is going to be, I think, an emotional and difficult one as well, in that I think as Rebecca starts to deteriorate some of her memories, and we've talked about this before, sort of in the context of whether or not she would interpret Nicky as Jack, would she revert herself mentally to sort of a position where she either recognizes that Madison is Sophie, or would she just assume that Kevin is with Sophie, and would that cause a strain on Kevin and Madison's relationship? Is that something that Kevin would talk with Sophie about? Is that a way that Sophie could be a part of the story moving forward?
It could be, but I doubt that they're going to have it happen with sort of more than one person. And I think Nicky is going to be that person that she's going to think is Jack.
I think that's probably the case. I don't think they would hit this same story a lot. I mean, maybe they don't do it with Nicky and they do it here, or they do it with Nicky and they don't do it here. But I think it's something they could sort of look at in one way, shape, or form. But I think even more than just the character of Sophie, maybe we'll continue to see her just sort of here and there, even if her and Kevin don't end up together, as sort of a manifestation and a reminder of the idea that, you know, your past can really define who you are, and it's understandable to be nostalgic for certain things, but nostalgia does not equal reality, so you have to sort of come up with the best relationship that you can to your past in order to actually have a successful present.
The other thing I was kind of wondering about how Sophie might come back in this upcoming season is because of the fight with Kevin and Randall, and that idea then that, you know, Randall's going to be having his family come close around him. He's going to really lean on them. That's what the creator has said. Kevin, on the other hand, yeah, he's probably going to lean on Kate, and I'm sure Kate will be there for him. But I mean, Kate's kind of stuck in the middle here, and it would be the same. You know, Rebecca's got stuff going on right now. So Kevin doesn't really have like a ton of people around him. He does have Nicky, but he can be hot and cold. Depends kind of when you're getting in touch with him and that sort of thing. So is it possible that he could at some point reach out to Sophie while things are starting to go downhill for his mom? Things have gone downhill with Randall, and she knows this family so well. She's been with them since, school, that she'd be able to give him just that outside perspective on what's going on and maybe something he hasn't thought about.
I think all these people need a mediator in some shape or form, like somebody to bounce ideas off of. And I think Randall could have Beth. Kate, she might be able to talk to Madison. Kevin may be able to talk to Madison depending on where their relationship develops, but it's not the same as Sophie, who, like you said, has been there, or at least been around them for decades, and she does sort of know Randall, understand the dynamic, and she knows Kevin really, really well on an emotional level. So I could easily sort of see that. But I think if you are a Kevin and Sophie fan, regardless of whether or not they're together, I think we can take comfort in the fact that her role on the story is far from being over.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, let's ask you guys, how do you think Sophie is going to be factored into This Is Us moving into Season 5? Give us all your thoughts and theories on the matter in the comments, and if you guys do like this discussion, remember to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and you can support us further by checking the link in the description to the store, and we'll see you here next time.